As probably most of you know, European Investment Bank is the largest multilateral development bank in the world. We were established in 1958, and since then we have invested about 1.5 trillion of euros across 160 different countries and the projects with the various levels of impact. We are a AAA rated institution. This is the highest credit rating, and what effectively that means is that we are funding ourselves at a very good rates. And what we do, we pass on this financial benefit to our counterparties, to our clients. So our lending rates are very competitive if, let's say, compared to other financial institutions locally. So when we invest, we have certain priority areas. We are the bank of the EU. We are a policy-driven bank, and we invest in several priority areas, them being cohesion, small, medium enterprises, climate and environment, sustainability, meaning sustainable transport or sustainable infrastructures, as well as innovation, digitalization. So all our investments have to have an impact in these areas. What I want to mention is that we are a countercyclical investor. What does that mean in reality to be a countercyclical investor? We go into the markets when private investors are not available, when there is a market gap. So yes, back to a countercyclical investor. When the best example of our countercyclicality was during COVID times. Our highest lending volumes were in 2020, when private investors were putting their investments on hold because of uncertainty triggered by COVID. We were at the forefront of investing. We're deploying the European Commission mandate in EGF fund, and our lending volumes at that point were unprecedented. So if we look into our output from the last year, our last year's investment totaled to about 65 billion euros, and they were all fairly equally distributed across all our 4 public policy areas, meaning energy, sustainable regions, innovation, and SMEs. What I like to mention is that when we invest, we seek for several areas of impact. So Lithuania, for example, is a perfect example, because when we invest in the Baltics, rather frequently we hit 3 of our priority areas. What does that mean in practice? When we transact with a financial institution, alternative lenders, they commit to generate X amount of lending to small, medium enterprises. That's the first one. The second one is the portion of this lending has to go to SMEs who are pursuing green projects. That hits our climate targets. And given that 85% of Lithuania or 100% of Latvia, for this matter, is cohesion region, that fulfills our cohesion region priority goals as well. I have to mention that we are the climate bank of the EU, and in 2019, our board of directors has approved a new business plan, how to invest in the current decade, which is critical with relation to how we address global warming issues. So the board of directors set our investment targets for this decade in climate domain to be 1 trillion euros. Half of our projects that we invest by 2025 have to be in the climate related projects. We already well into achieving these targets, because as of now we have lent nearly 222 billion of euros in climate and environmental sustainability projects, and our investments are well above 50% at this point. So when we set this climate plan, we set the climate bank roadmap as well. What does that mean? It means that we kind of created 4 work streams, how we will tackle this climate investment implementation. So firstly, as I mentioned, we have to increase our investments in green projects. Secondly, our pursuit of this green investment strategy has to be just for all. That really addresses, let's say, the regions that are very much dependent on the industries, which we no longer support. And our contribution here is in the form of encouraging investing in the sustainable industries and helping the local workforce to transition, to retrain and apply their skills in the new industries. Third one is to ensure that the investments that we make in other domains, which are not climate related, are not making any harm. So it's not that our investments are counterproductive. Therefore, all our investments, without any exception, has to be Paris Agreement aligned. And thirdly, we have to ensure that climate issue is addressed on a global level. So we make investments not only in the EU, but outside of the EU. We have created a separate department called EU Global, who also invests in the projects and help other nations with their climate plans. Now, when we deploy our climate strategy, we have a range of financial instruments to do that. They have various levels of riskiness. They apply to a variety of counterparties. So the most simple being a standard loan, which we extend to municipalities, municipal companies, state corporations, financial institutions. We make equity investments as well, being the most risky type of financial product, and any other financial instruments such as portfolio guarantees, such as venture capital, venture debt investments, such as investments in securitization, taking a mezzanine risk of the tranche portfolio, falls anywhere between this risk spectrum. What's important to mention is that the riskier the project, the higher the impact we expect, or the higher lending multiplier we expect. The higher impact, the, let's say, larger coverage of our priority areas. And when we deploy these instruments, we use either our own money or the funds from the mandators. Currently, we are deploying one of the largest ever to date mandates called InvestEU. InvestEU is the mandate from European Commission, and it was launched in 2021 to kickstart European economy that suffered from a COVID crisis and to make European countries more competitive. So the mandate is 26 billion euros, and it's anticipated that when it is fully deployed, it will catalyze about 380 billion of investments from other private and public sector participants. So EIB is utilizing these funds and deploying into the 4 priority areas, which are pretty much the same as I mentioned before. So sustainability infrastructure, SMEs, digitalization, innovation, and social skills. What's important to mention is that in addition to financial services we also have advisory services. What that means is EIB adheres to highest standards in terms of climate, in terms of implementation, in terms of being socially acceptable. And for some counterparties, it might be a bit difficult to, let's say, to meet these criteria. That's why, to bridge this gap, there is advisory services where our experts, engineers, economists, financial analysts help with the implementation of the project. In reality, what that means is feasibility studies of the project, assistance through implementation stages, as well as monitoring and reporting on it. In Lithuania, this is actually quite a popular service. It has to be mentioned that it is free of charge for the clients. And it was used in Lithuania on several occasions. To mention a few, one of the Vilnius bypasses was created or implemented with our services of the advisors. One of the municipalities used our assistance when replacing the diesel public transport with electric ones. We have advised the Lithuanian Inland Water Authority how to move the freight from road transport to the electric barges. So this is some of them. And at this point, I would like to wrap up the presentation, because probably it's better that I address, let's say, the more concrete interventions of EIB in the panel discussion.